Welcome to Lesson 7. This is an exciting lesson as we will now work with jQuery. Why is jQuery exciting? It is a strong library that has a lot of support. What it does is solve a lot of problems programmers have had in trying to make a unified user experience across different browsers. We do not have to rely on fallback code to make it work in different browsers. But don't let that fool you into thinking you don't need JavaScript anymore. jQuery is powerful, especially when combined with JavaScript techniques. But it is best utilized when you understand JavaScript so that you can make the best use of jQuery. So how does it work? It is a file you include in your web pages. It lets you find elements using CSS style selectors and then do something with them using jQuery methods. jQuery doesn't do anything you cannot do with pure JavaScript. jQuery is just a JavaScript file. However, it makes coding much simpler. Using raw JavaScript is almost always faster, but because the coding process is simplified, it allows for faster development. A special note, the jQuery.on method is used to handle all events. jQuery is handling all the cross-browser issues we saw in the last chapter. Please look at this chart. As you can see, there are many jQuery events. So let's dive in and start using jQuery. The first step is to get jQuery. So we're gonna go to type jQuery in the browser, and Google's gonna show us the results, jQuery.com. That's where we wanna go. So once we're on the page, jQuery.com tells you a little bit about jQuery, what is jQuery, some corporate members, and some other little bits of information. But what we're really interested in is getting jQuery. So click on the download link, and it tells you a little bit about it. There's two versions of jQuery, jQuery 1.0, 1.x series, and jQuery 2.x series. Important thing to note about jQuery, the difference between these two is in jQuery 2.0, it does not support Internet Explorer 6, 7, or 8. So if your application needs to support, i.e. 6, 7, or 8, then you should go into the jQuery 1.x line. And then it gives you various ways to install jQuery with Bower, a migrate plugin, or the most common way is using a CDN. CDN is a content delivery network. So if you include this code, it's hosted by someone else, and they keep the file for you. And so and this also helps with caching. So if someone already got this jQuery file from one of these CDN networks, then it won't download again. So and they even give you the code to include in your web page. And there's of course other CDNs. Google has their own CDN, Microsoft, then there's CDN.js network and JS Deliver. So some people like to use the Google CDN. So let's see what they show here. And here's the snippet code you'd use for the 1.x line and the 2.x line. And if you need a specific version, they also tell you which number to use to put right in here. And if you need the mobile version of jQuery, there's that. And I believe Microsoft page should look the same. Oh, looks very different now. But they can tell you jQuery version 2.0, 2.01. So with that, I want to talk about the book's website. So type JavaScript book, and let's go to the main page. So this is the book we're using, and if you click on code, you can download all the code from all the examples of code from our book. So if we click this, it'll ask us download, it'll be done, and let's see. Oh, look at that, September 2015. So they updated the code. And then you can work with the code here, extract it somewhere on your computer, and you have the source code available. But it's always best to write out all the code yourself. But for now, we're gonna go explore some examples of jQuery. All right, so we're gonna break this lesson up into a few parts. We'll go through part A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, with the final piece being the example. So in our basic example, Let's take a look at the JavaScript code. Let's look at it in here. Nice color code. And let me just... Okay, there we go. So here we see selector. We're going to select for header. We're going to add the class headline. Then we're going to get line item. We're going to hide it. Fade in 15. And then if you click it, it's going to remove. So here we go. We see this remove means whatever I am. So line item remove. So when we run the example, we see they faded in. And if you click one, it's going to remove it. So this is jQuery's built-in looping method. You see those here. So what's going to happen here? It's going to go get the list item with emphasis, and we're going to add a class seasonal. So if we look here in the source code, list item, there's emphasis here. So it's going to add a class to this, which is seasonal, and then here, anything that is a list item with class hot, it's going to add class favorite. And so let's see. So we see class hot is on the first three, and they look different than the fourth one. So with those 2 lines of code, we did all of that. Okay. And then there's chaining. So what is chaining? Okay. Chaining.js. And so we can add multiple methods to one selection. So here we're selecting, we want list item, but we want the ID to not equal, I should make this bigger. There we go. So list item, or the ID, it does not equal 1. What we want to happen is, let me separate these out to separate lines, so you can take a look at what's happening. And this semicolon indicates the end of the chaining. So first thing you want to do is hide it. We're going to have a delay of 500 milliseconds. So when you see these numbers here, these are in milliseconds. Then we want it to fade in 400 milliseconds. Next, list item, the first child of a list item, we want to add it to class. Next, and then a list item with class, so see dot class from CSS, dot priority, we're going to add another class to it, highlight. So when we hit chain, we see everything came right in there. And so this one was ID number 1. Take a look at source. ID 1. So list item where the ID is not 1, which is 2, 3, 4. What happened? We'll do that again. So we will then see this be on the page first. These will be hidden. There'll be a delay of 500 milliseconds as after the page loads. Then these will slowly fade in 1400 milliseconds. While that's going on, the first child is going to have class next and add class highlight to the ones with priority. Let's see which ones had priority. Class hot, 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 hot. Do I even see priority in this one? Do not see class priority. Okay. Oh, we did see the chaining. There we go again. Fade in.